welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for the Clean Energy and Renewables Conference. The next presentation is from RZOLV Technologies. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides, and you can view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Dwayne Nelson. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of RZOLV Technologies, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol RZOLF and on the TSXV under the symbol RZL. Welcome, Dwayne.
Thanks, Tom. Pleasure to be here. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think you're going to find this really a tremendously compelling clean tech story. It's not very often where you have a very disruptive technology that's being introduced into a large quantifiable $450 billion market, such as the gold mining sector. And the gold mining sector has been really slow with its adoption of new innovative technologies. And so we put together just an incredible team. We've all got tremendous experience in the mining sector and in the hydrometallurgical sector. And the whole focus of RZOLV was to try to identify and develop a technology that could unlock thousands of stranded deposits around the world that can't be put into production because cyanide is prohibited. And let me back up a little bit, is that 90% of the world's gold is currently produced using cyanide. And of course, cyanide is highly toxic. It's getting much more difficult to permit. It's prohibited in many, many countries and restricted in every country on the planet. And so the whole premise behind the company was to provide the miners with a non-toxic, environmentally friendly alternative that could unlock these assets. And even the ones that are currently using cyanide is to offer them an environmentally friendly and safe alternative. And we have done just that. So the sector is highly motivated because everyone who's using it doesn't want to be using it. Everybody who's downstream from the mine doesn't want them using it. So it's very timely. And we offer the same performance as cyanide, the same cost profile, same recoveries, but it's non-toxic. And so this product is the result of over almost 4 years and $8 million in research and development. We have filed 2 patents. We have 2 patents pending. And it's the result of thousands and thousands of laboratory and on-site bulk tests. So the real market, there's $3 billion of cyanide being used in gold mining. But when you examine the unaddressable market, that is gold mines, tailings, concentrates that are located in countries that prohibit the use of cyanide, the market is roughly 3 times that size. And it applies to all mining processes. It's not just heap leaching and vat leaching, but it includes large-scale tank leaching processes, flotation concentrates, gravity concentrates. So 100% of the current global gold mining market can be addressed using the RZOLV product. So currently there's approximately 3 billion, as I mentioned, being used. And because we're partnering with large chemical companies and the actual cyanide manufacturers, that's the intent. We can actually offer them a way that they can increase the revenue profile of their companies substantially, simply by providing them with a product that can address those unaddressable target markets that they just currently can't get into using cyanide. And so there's a lot of interest. We've signed 6 NDAs with very large chemical and companies around the world. Some of them are the largest producers of cyanide globally. So they have the market, they have the distribution network, they have the ability to manufacture and distribute to their existing clients. And almost all of their clients either want to change their current mine or they have projects in areas where they're really having a hard time securing permits. And that's a pretty significant market. If you look at the potential, over $6 billion a year. And, really when you look at the potential revenue for RZOLV, really even just 1% of the current $3 billion cyanide market would make us a tremendously successful company. And, we partner with a number of professional groups. So we use SGS Labs, which is the largest certification lab on the planet. They do all of our independent tests and validation and large-scale call-out tests and so on. We've also worked extremely close with UBC now. They're our new academic partner. Dr. David Dreisinger, one of the top, actually is the top hydrometallurgical scientists on the planet, is on our board of advisors. So we surround ourselves with very intelligent, very experienced people. The last slide showed the comparison between cyanide and RZOLV. You can see that the leach kinetics are almost identical, with the same recoveries, the same time to recover, and the same underlying chemical performance, but without the toxicity that cyanide has with it. So then SGS just completed a series of tests on concentrates, and this is about 15 to 20 billion dollars of the global gold mining sector. And right now, the only alternative for mines that are currently producing concentrates is to ship them to overseas smelters. And there's obviously extreme costs involved with that. The costs of shipping to a port, the cost of shipping from the port to the smelter costs, plus penalties. And then there's also the variance in grades of what you think the ore or the concentrates are worth versus what the smelters are going to pay you. This is the first time that those companies that are producing those concentrates have an alternative where they can produce and extract the gold from those concentrates on site and in country. As we mentioned, with your typical heap leaching, which is about 40% of the market, the costs are the same. So the chemicals are roughly the same cost, but when you add on the incidental costs or the operating costs associated with cyanide, it goes up considerably. So when you take everything into consideration, plus cyanide destruction costs, site remediation costs, and mine insurance, we offer a very compelling economic alternative. Also, our process, our formula actually has a much higher reusability quotient than cyanide as well. And so when you put that into the formula, it really helps to build that compelling economic argument. The process is identical to cyanide. So, and this is really, really important because anytime you have a disruptive technology, you typically have to, change the way people think, change the way people do the process. The incumbent technologies are different. This is really important that we use the same process, the same pipes, the same hoses, the same pumps, exactly the same process as cyanide. You just stop using this powder and use ours, and you just mix it with water. So to let you know, ours is predominantly a water-based chemistry, and you put a teaspoon of our white powder in a liter or quart of water, and you stir it. And that's all you need to do, and you can leave it sit on your desk. It's completely stable. There's no off-gassing. There's no smell. It's completely clear. It looks like water, and it's, as we said, it's safe to use. And to get it out of solution, you do the same thing as they do currently in the market, which is just simply pass the leach solution after the rocks have been soaking in it. You simply pass it through carbon, and the carbon extracts the gold, and then we use electrochemical cells to reoxidize and to regenerate the solution, and so you completely reuse it. So it has as we said, a very high reusability quotient with it. And so again, that helps reduce the overall costs and reduces the exposure to the environment because it's used in a closed loop process. This is an area that we're researching now. One of our shareholders is one of the largest uranium producers in the United States, and they predominantly use in-situ recovery. And really, in simple forms, you inject the solution directly into the ore body, and as you pass through the ore body and it comes in contact with the metal, it dissolves the metal into solution. It gets pumped back to the surface where the gold or uranium is recovered, and then the solution goes right back underground again. This is really something that can change the entire gold mining sector because now it is pennies on the dollar to extract gold from these types of deposits. And while it may not work on everything, and nothing does, in those areas that it is going to work, it's extremely cost effective. And you're really mining now with a series of water wells. So it really is something that could alter the entire sector. And the way that we get away with that is it has a very low toxicity level. When you look at RZOLV as a powder, you can see here, based on this lethal dosage 50, and everything has a lethal dosage 50 measurement to it. And you can see here that we're slightly more dangerous than ibuprofen, but not quite as dangerous as aspirin or vitamin D. Significantly, about 1,000 times less toxic than cyanide. So commercialization, how are we going to get this to market? We have a lot of experience in this area. Some of our founders have taken some of what you consider the largest gold mining companies into production and moved them from small exchanges to the New York Stock Exchange and to NASDAQ. We have a lot of experience in responsibly running public companies and growing those companies. What we're doing is we're going to be partnering with existing manufacturers, such as the cyanide manufacturers and chemical companies that have the infrastructure in place globally to commercialize this immediately. The result of that would be a very low capex, low capital structure for RZOLV, because we don't have to build the factories, we don't have to build the plants, we don't have to develop a global commercial distribution network. We can rely on our partners' investments, and so by doing so, we significantly reduce our costs, and we also mitigate our risks of success by simply taking advantage of those existing networks and factories that are already in place. And we do have 6 NDAs signed with some of the largest chemical companies in the world, and they've all approached us. They're all very interested in this product. So that's how we're going to push it into market. We're also testing right now for over 26 large gold mines around the world, and we're seeing just tremendous results. In some cases, we're significantly cheaper than cyanide, and of course, in all cases, we're significantly provide a much lower environmental impact. So we are building a small production facility in Arizona to be about 100 tons a day. This will generate cash flow, but equally important, it will provide a test location, a demonstrable test location for large gold mining companies that want to send us 100 tons or 1,000 tons of ore. They can then come down, we can run the material through this process, they can measure the results, they can actually pour a small doré gold bar from that. So we are also getting a lot of, obviously this is a very popular topic, and we've had engineering companies from across the world volunteering to help support this as we launch it globally as well. So, and we are applying for various grants. There's tremendous interest on behalf of Washington, D.C. on companies that can provide alternatives to help develop some of the critical rare earth technologies and new mining technologies that can unlock the value of these U.S. Deposits. And we have done testing with our formula on critical metals and rare earths, and we can complex or dissolve into solution 32 of the United States critical minerals on their list. And this is really important because, remember, we're a simple water-based chemistry. So it's unlike a lot of the hot toxic soups that are required by other groups in order to extract those metals. So we're still requiring, obviously, more research in this area, but it definitely buys us a seat at the table. The company has about 60 million shares outstanding. 30% of the company is owned by founders and insiders. There's 5 million warrants and 5 million options, so total diluted market would be 72 million. The current market cap is about $20 million US. The executive team. This is really important because this isn't our first rodeo. There's a lot of gray hair here. There's a lot of experience here. For example, our chairman is Chester Miller, who invented heap leaching. So that technology that he introduced is now responsible for 40% of global gold production. When he started that whole heap leaching idea, he had it in a company called Glamis Gold, He sold Glamis Gold for $9 billion. Joe, obviously one of his friends and one of our founders, he and Bob Quartermain had built Silver Standard into a $4 billion market cap, Pretium into a $3 billion market cap. Janet Sheriff was on our board of directors when we started. Bill Sheriff's on our board of advisors. And that's Encore Energy, trades NASDAQ over $1 billion. Silvermax and Great Panther, both other, again, two large silver producers that both Bob and I had founded in the early 2000s. And Mary Ellen, who's on our board of directors, spent 7 years at Barrick. So this team and our other founding members have raised billions of dollars for mining companies globally. And that experience is what's really helped us to get to the point where we are now. This slide demonstrates the 100-ton bulk test that we've done. So a lot of the questions on this were, obviously it sounds too good to be true. Is it scalable? And so we tested this at scale. We had 100 tons of material in there and 75,000 quarts of solution. We measured liters, 75,000 liters of solution. And not only did it complex the gold or dissolve the gold into solution, we passed it through the industry standard activated carbon, and over 99% of the gold reported to the carbon, and we were able to successfully strip that carbon for reuse and produce a 2.5 ounce doré gold bar. So what you're looking at here has never been done before. This is really the first non-cyanide based commercial hydrometallurgical extraction of gold. And that's basically it. So we can address some questions. So someone's asked what type of government grants that we can access. And there's a whole series of them. As a matter of fact, we got notification from the Department of War yesterday. They are allocating more money for critical minerals. And obviously now, we'll be addressing that with the 32 critical minerals and rare elements that we can dissolve into solution and provide potential for national production of those rare earth elements. And also there's the Mine of the Future campaigns or grants that they put out every year, and we're a natural candidate for that as well. Timeline for the 100-ton facility. We expect to be building that this summer. That's the same location that we built our test plant at, the 100-ton test plant, and all of the equipment's in place. There's a great resource there that we can use. We've structured a great relationship and contract with the owner of the property for 50% of profits. We're waiting for variance from the Arizona Department to allow us to proceed, and we expect it should be in full production by this summer or late this summer. Our shareholder is made up of mostly retail. 30% of our company is owned by the insiders and founders, and we are expecting, it would be natural to expect that we would welcome some strategic investors that might be some of the chemical companies that we're talking to. It may be large gold mining companies as well. The patents, yes, we submitted 2 chemical patents, process patents on this. And this will be the 5th patents that our group has, chemical patents that our groups have filed. So we're very good at obfuscating patents, but still maintaining the integrity of the patents and providing the basis for solid protection of those patents. But there's another side of the equation when it comes to IP protection, and that goes hand in hand with our business model, and that is to develop relationships with existing distribution channels that dominate the market now. And by doing so, we become an early mover into the sector. So early mover on disruptive technologies is equally as important as the underlying IP protection from patents. And by doing so, not only if somebody else comes in with a product that can compete with us, they have to be better than ours, they have to be cheaper than ours, and they're going to have to dislodge us from these strong relationships that we have garnered with these massive global distribution networks. What are our milestones for 2026? Our milestones are, we're testing for, as I mentioned, over 26 companies right now. We receive at least 1 or 2 requests a day from new companies that want us to test ore. So our whole model now is we have to try to protect ourselves from an early stage takeout. And so we're concerned with at the moment is driving value. The technology is complete. There's nothing left to work on there. Obviously we'll always attempt at improving it at some point, but right now it is ready for market. And so we expect that you're going to hear announcements of relationships with global manufacturing or chemical companies. And you're going to hear some near-term news we expect with some of the larger global mining companies, large-scale global miners, that we're entering into on-site pilot-scale testings at their locations. And are we funded for those initiatives? Yes, we are. Our burn rate is extremely low. It's under $200,000 Canadian per year. And the balance, we've been doing significant work with these companies. Most of that research has been paid for. And some of the companies are actually paying us to do research as well. The timeline until a chemical company partnership, that alone would drive tremendous value into this company. You've seen examples of this in other disruptive technologies. One would be a company like Ucor, in a Canadian company that went from a $50 million market cap to $1.8 billion market cap overnight. So really, that's an important question. We are negotiating with 6 extremely large companies. All of them do over $10 billion a year in revenue. And we've been doing this for 2.5 years with them. So we're very close. We're actually doing testing with a number of them at this time. So we expect that we would hope you'll see something significant coming out this year. And perhaps within 6 months, we would hope. Provide some more color around the patent applications. I think we've done that. Mining jurisdictions, the patents, we're going after all of the countries that have significant gold mining production. And again, there's no gold miner in the world that's going to be using a product from somebody that is basing it on a patent infringement. So again, that's another part of our IP model, is that protection that comes, that large gold mining companies and our clients and other chemical companies will not play with anybody who has a patent infringed technology. So what are the economics, the comparable economics? See, that's a great question. The prices are about the same. However, our margins for those chemical companies are significantly larger than the current margins. It's very expensive to produce cyanide. It's a massive plants, massive chemical plants. Ours is more of a blending technology, blending, packaging, and distribution. So the margins between from what we're paying for the chemicals and what we're proposing that the market price would be is a significant margin for those chemical companies. And again, that provides the impetus for them to push this over cyanide. So someone asked, why not market directly to the mining companies? Who will benefit from this technology instead of marketing it to chemical companies? That's always a challenge. So, our executives looks at this model and we say, all right, well, what is the best way to get this to market? So when you say the best way, is it the safest way? How do you mitigate risk? How do you reduce the costs of developing a global production facility, global production and distribution, be hundreds of millions of dollars. Why not take advantage of those existing channels that are there now and take a royalty? Not only does it mitigate risk, but it almost guarantees a faster commercialization, and it actually prevents entries from other chemical companies in the marketplace. So it just helps to de-risk it. It's faster commercialization. And it's still the type of relationships, the proposed relationships that we have on the royalty streams make us a very, very successful company with a very small percentage market penetration too. Hope that makes sense. Government grants, we're pursuing government grants. We've been supported by the Canadian government in a number of areas because of our alliance with UBC and the professors there. We're also getting their help in the development and the commercialization. And they're also helping with us with respect to our grants that we're applying for with Department of Energy and Department of War and so on. Let's see, what else do we have here? How effective was the rare earth processing in terms of percentage recovered? Actually, if you go to our website, RZOLV.com, and you look at the news section, there's an article or a press release that we put out there that actually showed the 32 elements that we could dissolve in solution and the actual recoveries that we were able to pull out of that into our solution. Some of them were significant, some of them not, but you have to remember, we didn't optimize our chemistry at all for that test. And it was a consolidated test from 3 different mines using ALS as our primary labs that did the independent assaying on that. So, and how easy is it to separate those rare earths from our solution? You know, we've got a lot of experience with ion exchange technologies and selective ion exchange technologies by simply passing our solution through ion exchange. That's a possibility. Precipitation's a possibility. Again, the most difficult aspect of that is getting it into solution in an economic fashion. And you can't beat a water-based chemistry to do that. Let's see. Okay, thank you. Competitive environment for non-cyanide gold recovery. That is a great question. We have the benefits of over 12 years experience in the non-cyanide based hydrometallurgical extraction side of the business. And we specialize in both what they call organic and inorganic chemistry. And we have tried everything. There is really only 6 compounds that exist on the planet that can dissolve gold. And that includes the halides like bromide and iodide and the chlorides and ammonium thiosulfates and the thioureas. We've been involved, deeply involved, and so has UBC in the exploration of these other potential candidates for cyanide replacement. They've all been tried and died for a reason. And I can get into a lot of chemical reasons why, but in most cases, it's simply because of when this is a redox chemical reaction that takes place. So you're actually oxidizing the gold. And all of those other chemicals are also oxidants. So they're complexing agents, but they're also oxidants. And so they produce an uncontrollable chemical reaction that simply burns the underlying chemicals out. So they're extremely unstable. Whereas ours, you can leave it sit in water and it's stable for years. And it doesn't there's no over oxidation, so you can leave it sit on your desk. There's no off gassing, and it's very benign chemistry. But we're very familiar with all of the other potential alternatives, and we really are so confident that we have the only practicable or commercially viable alternative for the gold mining sector, because gold mining can't be done in a lab environment. It can't be done in a pressurized, contained environment. It's open air. And no matter what you want to do, it has to be an open air and sustainable and stable technology. Let's see, what else do we have here? Revenue announcements. No, we're not going to have revenue announcements this quarter, but I want everybody to understand, when you look at disruptive technologies, value is not driven by revenue. It's not driven in this stage of the company. It's not driven by projected earnings per share. It's driven by relationships. We've seen many disruptive technologies grow to billion-dollar market caps without ever talking about the revenue or the net earnings per share or calculated. What valuation metrics would you use? This is a company that'll be driven by relationships. And that all comes with the validation. This is such a disruptive technology, and the only disruptive technology, as I said when I started, that has a quantifiable $450 billion market that we're addressing with no competition. So this is all about validation, and that will come through the relationships with gold mining companies and chemical companies as well. I can't keep up with the questions, guys. Competitive environment. Let's see, what else do we have? Sorry about this. Okay, yeah, thank you. We've talked about the effectiveness of the rare earth processing. Please go to the website and look up that news. It's on the website, and you'll actually see those elements again. Are we required to share royalties with UBC? Absolutely not. No, we're happy to support UBC. Chester Miller's been our chairman, has been donating money to UBC. We own this technology. It was not developed at UBC. UBC is part of how we're advancing this. How do we best commercialize it? Or we look at a number of individual programs with UBC, but no, there's no royalties payable on this to anybody except us. We own this 100%. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think that's probably about it. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can contact us through the website. And I guess that's about it. Seems to be it for the questions.